They built cities without machines, created calendars more accurate than ours today, and ruled vast empires long before Europeans knew they existed. But what happened to the Aztecs, Mayans, and Incas? And why does their story still shape the world we live in? What might you know might scratch the surface? The Aztecs, Mayans, and Incas were some of the most advanced civilizations in history. They didn't just survive in harsh environments, they thrived. But their rise to power wasn't without struggle. From ingenious engineering to complex political systems and beliefs, their achievements rivaled those of ancient Rome and Greece. Yet, most of their stories remain untold, or worse, misunderstood. In this video, we'll uncover the truth behind how these civilizations rose, what set them apart, and why their influence echoes across history even now. But what happened when their worlds collided with forces beyond their control? Let's break it all down. It's one thing to build a community, but another to create a civilization that can last for centuries. These three civilizations faced unique challenges. The Mayans thrived in dense jungles, the Aztecs built an empire in swampy lakebeds, and the Incas built cities in the Andes Mountains at altitudes that most humans would struggle to survive. So, how did they do it? How did they overcome their environments and achieve things that even modern engineers marvel at today? To answer that, we need to start with their foundations. The Mayans, masters of time and architecture. The story of the Mayans is one of brilliance, resilience, and mystery. Rising as early as 2000 BCE and thriving for thousands of years, their civilization stretched across modern-day southern Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, and El Salvador. They didn't just build cities, they created centers of culture, science, and power that rivaled the ancient world's great civilizations. Yet, despite their achievements, their sudden decline has left historians and archaeologists with countless questions. So, what made the Mayans unique? And what can we learn from their remarkable rise and mysterious fall? The Mayan civilization didn't emerge overnight. It began with small farming communities that relied on crops like maize, beans, and squash. These staple foods sustained them and became central to their culture and mythology. Over time, these communities grew into city-states, each with its rulers, traditions, and achievements. Unlike some civilizations, the Mayans didn't have a centralized empire. Instead, they were a network of interconnected city-states, such as Tikal, Copan, and Palenque. Each city had its ruler, but they were all bound by shared culture, language, and trade. This decentralized structure allowed for incredible diversity. Each town contributed unique innovations and cultural practices. The Mayans didn't just build cities, they crafted masterpieces that reflected their deep connection to their environment and gods. Tikal, one of the most iconic Mayan cities, is a prime example. Rising out of the dense Guatemalan jungle, its towering pyramids and sprawling plazas are a testament to the Mayans' architectural genius. But what makes these structures so impressive? First, they were built without metal tools or the wheel. The Mayans relied on simple stone, wood, and bone tools, yet their precision was extraordinary. Their pyramids and temples were aligned with celestial events, showing an advanced understanding of astronomy. For example, at the Temple of Kukulkan in Chichen Itza, the shadow of a serpent appears to slither down the pyramid during the spring and autumn equinoxes. This wasn't a coincidence, it was a carefully planned architectural marvel. Their cities were more than places to live, they were spiritual centers. Temples and pyramids were often dedicated to gods, used for rituals, and as places of political power. In many cities, ball courts weren't just for games. They had religious significance, often symbolizing the battle between life and death. If there's one thing the Mayans are known for, it's their obsession with time. They didn't just mark days on a calendar, they sought to understand the universe through time. Their calendars were incredibly accurate, based on meticulous sun, moon, and stars observations. The Mayans had three primary calendars: the Tzolkin, 260-day calendar. Used for religious and ceremonial purposes, it dictated rituals and significant events in their spiritual lives. The Hab, 365-day solar calendar, divided into 18 months of 20 days each, with an additional 5 nameless days. This calendar closely aligns with the solar year. The long count is a more complex system that tracks longer periods. This calendar gained modern attention with the infamous 2012 end of the world interpretation, which was a misunderstanding of how the Mayans marked the end of one era and the beginning of another. Their knowledge of astronomy and mathematics was unparalleled in the ancient Americas. They tracked celestial movements with such precision that they could predict solar and lunar eclipses centuries in advance. This deep understanding of time and the cosmos influenced every aspect of their society, from agriculture to religion. Time wasn't just a scientific concept for the Mayans, it was deeply tied to their religion and worldview. They believed the universe was cyclical, with periods of creation and destruction. Their gods were central to this cycle, and much of their architecture and art honored these deities. The Mayans performed elaborate rituals to ensure balance in the universe. Bloodletting and human sacrifice were significant parts of their religious practices, believed to appease the gods and maintain cosmic harmony. Temples often served as the stage for these rituals, with rulers playing a central role as intermediaries between the gods and the people. Despite the dramatic nature of their rituals, the Mayan religion also emphasized the interconnectedness of life, the earth, and the cosmos. Their reverence for nature is evident in their art and mythology, which often depicted animals, plants, and celestial bodies. The Mayans didn't have a monetary system like we do today. Instead, their economy was based on barter and trade. Goods like cacao beans, obsidian, jade, and textiles were highly valued and often traded across vast distances. Markets within cities were bustling hubs where people exchanged goods and ideas, contributing to the cultural richness of Mayan society. Trade also connected the Mayans with other civilizations in Mesoamerica, such as the Olmecs and the Zapotecs. This exchange of goods and ideas helped spread innovations like writing systems, agricultural techniques, and religious practices. By 900 CE, many of the great Mayan cities were abandoned, leading to what historians call the Maya collapse. But what caused this decline? The truth is, there's no single answer. It was likely a combination of factors. Environmental challenges, deforestation and overuse of land may have led to soil depletion, making it difficult to grow enough food to support their population. Droughts. Evidence suggests prolonged droughts could have disrupted agriculture and strained resources. Internal conflict. Wars between rival city-states may have weakened their ability to maintain their civilization. Overpopulation. As cities grew, they may have exceeded their capacity to sustain large populations. It's important to note that while many cities were abandoned, the Mayan civilization didn't vanish. Smaller communities continued to thrive, and the descendants of the Mayans are still alive today, preserving their culture and traditions. The Mayans' influence extends far beyond their time. Their architectural techniques, mathematical systems, and astronomical knowledge continue to inspire and amaze. Modern researchers still study their calendars, trying to understand their intricate designs and cultural significance. In regions where the Mayans once thrived, their traditions live on. Many indigenous communities in Central America speak Mayan languages and practice customs passed down for generations. Their connection to the land and respect for nature remind us of the importance of living in harmony with our environment. The Mayans were masters of time and architecture. They were also masters of resilience and innovation. They built cities that defied the limitations of their tools, developed scientific knowledge that rivaled modern achievements, and created a legacy that continues to shape the world today. Their story reminds us of the power of human ingenuity and the importance of preserving our cultural heritage. While much of their history remains a mystery, one thing is clear: the Mayans were a civilization unlike any other. The Aztecs, the engineers of empire. The Aztecs were a civilization of extraordinary ambition and resilience. From their humble beginnings as wandering tribes to building one of the most impressive cities the world has ever seen, their story is nothing short of remarkable. Their ingenuity, culture, and determination transformed a swampy island into the beating heart of a vast empire that thrived for nearly 2 centuries. Yet their meteoric rise was matched only by their dramatic and devastating fall. Let's dive deeper into the incredible story of the Aztecs, the challenges they faced, and the legacy they left behind. The Aztecs didn't start as a great civilization. They began as nomads, a group of wandering people searching for a place to settle. According to their legends, they were guided by a prophecy. They would find their destined homeland when they saw an eagle perched on a cactus, devouring a snake. This vision led them to Lake Texcoco in what is now central Mexico. The spot seemed anything but ideal. It was a swampy island surrounded by water, with little farmland or resources. Most groups would have moved on, but the Aztecs saw potential. They believed this was the place foretold by their gods, so they decided to stay. And that decision changed history. Building on a swamp brought challenges that would have deterred even the most determined settlers. The Aztecs, however, were not just survivors. They were innovators. They transformed their environment into something extraordinary, laying the groundwork for what would become one of the most powerful empires in the Americas. By the early 14th century, the Aztecs began building their capital city, Tenochtitlan. To say it was impressive would be an understatement. Located on an island in Lake Texcoco, the city became a hub of activity, culture, and engineering genius. At its peak, it was home to over 200,000 people, making it one of the largest cities in the world at the time, more significant than most cities in Europe. But how did they build such a magnificent city on a swamp? The Aztecs developed innovative solutions to the challenges of their environment. To expand their usable land, they created chinampas, or floating gardens. These artificial islands were made by layering mud and plant material anchored to the lakebed with tree roots. They were incredibly fertile, allowing the Aztecs to grow crops like maize, beans, and squash right next to their city. The city itself was a masterpiece of planning and design. It was laid out in a grid pattern, with canals serving as roads for canoes. Bridges connected different parts of the city, and aqueducts brought fresh water from the surrounding hills. At the center of Tenochtitlan stood the Templo Mayor, a massive temple dedicated to the gods Huitzilopochtli and Tlaloc. The temple was the heart of Aztec religious life and a symbol of their power and devotion. Aztec society was highly organized and hierarchical. At the top was the emperor, known as the Tlatoani, who was both a political and religious leader. Below him were nobles, priests and warriors, each playing a crucial role in maintaining the empire's power and stability. The Aztecs strongly emphasized education, even for commoners. Schools taught children about their history, religion, and practical skills. Boys trained for roles in the military or as farmers, while girls learned domestic skills. However, some boys from noble families were educated to become priests or government officials, reflecting Aztec society's diverse and complex structure. Religion was deeply woven into every aspect of life. The Aztecs believed in a pantheon of gods who controlled everything from the weather to victory in battle. They performed elaborate rituals to maintain balance in the universe, including human sacrifices. While these sacrifices are often the most sensationalized aspect of their culture, they were rooted in their beliefs about life, death, and the cosmos. The Aztecs didn't just stay on their island. They expanded outward, building an empire that spanned much of central Mexico. Through a combination of military strength, strategic alliances, and sheer determination, they brought other city-states under their control. One of their most effective tools for expansion was their military. Aztec warriors were highly trained and disciplined, using weapons like obsidian-bladed swords and spears. They didn't just fight for conquest, they fought for captives. These captives were often used in religious rituals, which tied warfare directly to their spiritual beliefs. But the Aztec Empire wasn't just about brute force. They established a tribute system, requiring conquered regions to send goods like food, textiles, and luxury items to Tenochtitlan. This system enriched the empire and allowed the Aztecs to control vast territories without directly occupying them. However, it also created resentment among the conquered peoples, later contributing to the empire's downfall. Despite their incredible achievements, the Aztecs faced significant challenges. Their dependence on tribute made them vulnerable to rebellion, as many of their subjects resented the heavy demands placed on them. Maintaining control over such a large and diverse empire required constant effort, and cracks in the system began to appear. Another environmental challenge was the threat posed by Lake Texcoco. While a source of life for the Aztecs, flooding constantly threatened it. To manage the water, the Aztecs had to build dikes and canals. These efforts were impressive, but required enormous resources and labor, placing additional strain on the empire. Yet, the most significant challenge came from an enemy they could never have anticipated: foreign invaders. 1,519 Spanish conquistadors led by Hernán Cortés arrived in the Aztec Empire. At first, the Aztecs welcomed the Spaniards, believing they might be gods fulfilling an ancient prophecy. This initial misunderstanding allowed the Spanish to establish a foothold in Tenochtitlan and learn the city's strengths and weaknesses. But the Spanish didn't conquer the Aztecs alone. They formed alliances with local groups who resented Aztec rule, turning these former subjects into powerful allies. The absolute devastation, however, came from disease. Smallpox, brought by the Europeans, spread rapidly through the empire, killing millions and weakening the Aztecs' ability to resist. In 1521, after months of siege and brutal fighting, Tenochtitlan fell. The city, which had stood as a testament to Aztec ingenuity and power, was reduced to ruins. The Aztec Empire ended with its fall, but its legacy was far from over. The Aztecs may have fallen, but their impact on the world endures. Their agricultural innovations, such as chinampas, inspire modern farming techniques. Their art, architecture, and mythology remain sources of fascination and study. Even their language, Nahuatl, is still spoken by indigenous communities in Mexico today. Many foods we associate with Mexico, like chocolate, tomatoes, and chili peppers, were staples of Aztec cuisine. Their influence can be seen in modern Mexican culture and the global appreciation for these ingredients. The fall of the Aztecs was a tragic and violent chapter in history, but their story is also one of resilience and creativity. They turned a swamp into a thriving metropolis, built one of the most powerful empires of their time, and left a legacy that continues to shape the world. The Aztecs weren't just engineers, but visionaries who saw potential where others saw obstacles. They built an empire that defied the odds, combining ingenuity, strength, and a deep connection to their culture and beliefs. While their fall was dramatic, their accomplishments remind us of humanity's ability to adapt, innovate, and persevere. The Incas, masters of the mountains. The story of the Incas is a testament to human resilience, innovation, and determination. Rising to power in one of the most unforgiving landscapes on Earth, the Andes Mountains, the Inca civilization transformed cliffs and harsh altitudes into thriving cities and agricultural wonders. Starting as a small tribe in the Cusco Valley around the 12th century, the Incas built the largest empire in pre-Columbian America by the 15th century. Their achievements in engineering, agriculture, and governance remain astonishing even today. Yet, like many others, their empire faced an abrupt and tragic end. The Incas began as a relatively small and insignificant group in the highlands of Peru. According to their origin myths, they were descended from the sun god Inti, and Inti sent their first ruler, Manco Capac, to establish civilization. The Cusco Valley, surrounded by towering mountains and fertile plains, became the heart of their fledgling society. The early Incas were not the first great culture in the Andes. They inherited traditions, techniques, and influences from earlier civilizations like the Chavin, Moche, and Wari. These predecessors laid the foundation for Andean agriculture, architecture, and social organization. However, the Incas took these ideas to an entirely new level. Their growth was slow at first. For centuries, they were one of many competing groups in the Andes. It wasn't until the 15th century, under the leadership of Pachacuti Inca Yupanqui, that the Incas began their rapid expansion, transforming from a small kingdom into an empire spanning thousands of miles. The Andes are a daunting landscape, steep, rocky, and earthquake-prone. Most would see it as a barrier, but the Incas saw it as an opportunity. Their engineers created some of the most impressive infrastructure in history, much of which still stands today. Terraced agriculture. One of their most significant innovations was terracing, carving flat, step-like fields into the mountainsides. These terraces prevented soil erosion, conserved water, and created microclimates that allowed the Incas to grow crops such as potatoes, maize, and quinoa. Some terraces even had sophisticated drainage systems to manage heavy rainfall. Terracing wasn't just practical, it was beautiful. The terraces often looked like giant staircases wrapping around mountains, blending functionality with aesthetic harmony. These terraces turned inhospitable mountains into fertile farmland, enabling the Incas to feed millions. No discussion of Inca engineering is complete without mentioning Machu Picchu. Perched nearly 8,000 feet above sea level, this city is a marvel of design and construction. Built during the reign of Pachacuti, it served as a royal estate and possibly a religious center. The stones used to construct Machu Picchu were cut so precisely that they fit together without mortar. This technique, known as ashlar masonry, made their structures highly resistant to earthquakes. After centuries of abandonment and exposure to the elements, many of these structures remain intact. What's even more remarkable is that Machu Picchu was constructed without the use of wheels, iron tools, or draft animals. Everything was done with human labor, ingenuity, and a deep understanding of their environment. At its height, the Inca Empire stretched from modern-day Colombia to Chile, covering more than 2,500 miles. To govern such a vast and diverse territory, the Incas needed a way to connect their cities and regions. Enter the Inca road system, a network of over 24,000 miles of roads and bridges linking their empire. These roads were masterfully constructed, often carved into cliffs or laid across mountain passes. Suspension bridges made of woven grass fibers allowed people to cross deep gorges and rivers. These bridges were so strong that they could support the weight of humans, animals, and goods. The road system wasn't just for transportation, it was also a tool of governance and control. Chasqui, or Inca messengers, ran along these roads, carrying messages and goods between cities. They could cover up to 150 miles daily, ensuring swift communication across the empire. The roads also facilitated trade, allowing goods like textiles, ceramics, and precious metals to flow freely throughout the empire. But they served another purpose: military movement. The roads enabled the Incas to deploy troops quickly to defend or expand their territory. The Incas were not just builders, they were administrators. Governing an empire spanned deserts, mountains, and jungles required unparalleled organization. The Mitar system. One of the most striking aspects of Inca governance was the Mitar system, a labor tax that required citizens to contribute work to the state. This labor was used for public projects like building roads, temples, and terraces. In return, the state provided food, clothing, and security. This system ensured that the empire had a steady workforce while fostering a sense of communal responsibility. It was a key factor in the Incas maintaining such an expansive empire. Religion played a crucial role in uniting the diverse peoples of the Inca Empire. The Incas worshipped a pantheon of gods, with Inti, the sun god, at the center of their beliefs. Temples dedicated to Inti were built throughout the empire, serving as spiritual and administrative hubs. The most important of these temples was the Coricancha, or Temple of the Sun, in Cusco. Its walls were covered in gold, symbolizing the Incas' devotion to Inti and their belief that they were his chosen people. While the Incas mastered their environment, it was not without its challenges. The Andes are prone to earthquakes, landslides, and extreme weather, constantly threatening their infrastructure and agriculture. Disease was another challenge. The high altitudes and proximity of communities sometimes facilitated the spread of illnesses, which could disrupt farming and weaken populations. Despite these challenges, the Incas thrived, using their ingenuity and communal systems to overcome the hardships of their environment. The Inca Empire's downfall began in 1526, when Spanish explorers arrived in South America. By 1532, Francisco Pizarro and his men had reached the heart of the empire, which was weakened by internal strife. A civil war had broken out between two brothers, Atahualpa and Huáscar, over who would become the next emperor. This conflict divided the empire and left it vulnerable to external threats. When Pizarro captured Atahualpa, the Incas were left leaderless. But the greatest enemy wasn't the Spanish military, it was disease. Smallpox, brought by European explorers, spread rapidly through the Inca population, killing millions before the Spanish even arrived. The combination of disease, internal conflict, and Spanish conquest led to the fall of the Inca Empire in 1572. Although the Inca Empire may have fallen, its legacy lives on. The Incas' roads, terraces, and structures continue to inspire engineers and archaeologists. The descendants of the Incas, the Quechua people, still live in the Andes, preserving their language, traditions, and connection to the land. Modern Peruvians take pride in their Inca heritage, celebrating it through festivals, art, and cuisine. Foods like quinoa, potatoes, and corn, staples of the Inca diet, remain vital to the region's culture and economy. The Incas were more than just masters of the mountains. They were visionaries who transformed one of the harshest environments on Earth into a thriving empire. Their engineering, agriculture, and governance achievements continue to astound and inspire. While their empire may have ended, their legacy endures, reminding us of the incredible heights humanity can reach when faced with challenges. Historians still debate why these three great civilizations fell so quickly after achieving so much. Their cities couldn't sustain their growing populations, and wars between rival city-states weakened them. The Aztecs and Incas, however, faced a common enemy: European invaders. But it wasn't just guns and steel that sealed their fate. It was disease. Smallpox spread faster than the Spanish could travel, wiping out millions and leaving these empires vulnerable to conquest. Yet even in their decline, their legacies live on. From the languages spoken in modern-day Mexico and Peru to the architectural techniques still used in farming, these civilizations shaped the Americas in ways we often overlook. The Aztecs, Mayans, and Incas were more than just ancient civilizations. They were innovators, engineers, and visionaries who thrived in environments that most of us would find impossible to survive in today. Their rise was extraordinary, and their fall reminds us how fragile even the greatest empires can be. But their influence didn't end with their empires. Their contributions to science, agriculture, and culture continue to shape today's world. Subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for the next video on the Mound Builders, ancient engineers of North America. Don't miss out on uncovering more fascinating insights.